Welcome, everyone. In today's lecture, we're going to move beyond some of the basic accounting principles and really explore one of the most powerful decision-making tools in all of business mathematics. We're talking about finding the key to maximizing profit.
So here is our roadmap for today's session. We'll start with the fundamental problem every business owner faces. Then, we'll decode our key tools, marginal revenue and marginal cost. After that, we'll uncover the central rule for profit maximization. We'll apply it to a practical, everyday example, a coffee shop. And then we'll wrap up by discussing some common mistakes that I see students make so you can avoid them.
All right, let's dive right in with the first and honestly the most fundamental question that every single business owner has to grapple with.
Now, intuition, or simple arithmetic, well, it just isn't enough here. Your first instinct might be, well, I'll just make as many as I can sell. But think about that. What if the cost of producing that very last item is actually more than the money you get from selling it? You could be increasing your total revenue, sure, but you'd be actively losing money on that last sale and the one before it, and so on. Businesses need a precise, data-driven method to find that sweet spot for maximizing profit.
And the answer, the key to this, lies in a concept that comes to us from calculus called marginal analysis. Now, don't worry about the calculus part for now. We're going to break this down piece by piece and focus on the business logic, which is incredibly powerful.
So, here are the two core components of our analysis. On one side, we have marginal revenue. This is simply the extra money you get from selling one more item. And on the other side, we have marginal cost. That's the extra cost you incur to produce that one more item. The key word here is one. We're focused exclusively on the impact of the next single unit. Now, when you see this formula, MR equals DR over DX, I want you to translate that in your head. All dr over dx really means is the change in revenue, that's the dr part, from a tiny change in quantity, the dx part. It's just a mathematical way of answering a very simple business question. What's the revenue from the very next sale? That's it. It's not the total, it's not the average, it's just the revenue from that next one.
And it's the same exact logic for marginal cost. The formula, MC equals DC over DX, is just asking, what is the change in our total cost, DC, from producing one more tiny change in quantity, DX? In other words, what's the cost of producing just one more unit? And this helps us zero in on the variable costs, the cost of the materials, the direct labor, the things that actually change when we decide to produce one more.
Okay, so now we have our tools, right? We have marginal revenue and we have marginal cost. And with these two concepts, we can unlock an incredibly elegant rule that tells us exactly what to do.
And this right here, this is the key insight for our entire lecture today. This is the golden rule of production. A business maximizes its profit when it produces at the level where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That is the signal. It tells a business exactly when to stop producing. It's the very peak of the profit hill.
Let's walk through this table line by line. Imagine we're at 100 units. The marginal revenue, the money we get from selling that 100th unit, is $10. The marginal cost to make it was only $5. So should we make the 101st one? Absolutely. We made a $5 profit on that last one. So we produce more. At 101, the cost is $6. We still make a $4 profit. We keep going. As long as MR is greater than MC, you are making a profit on that specific unit, so you continue. Then you hit unit 104. MR is $10 and MC is $10. This is it. This is our optimal point. Now look what happens at unit 105. The revenue is still $10, but the cost to make it is now $11. If we make that unit, we lose $1. That's the signal to stop.
Okay, let's move this from theory and tables into practice. Let's see how this builds in a real-world scenario that I'm sure we can all relate to.
So I want you to put yourself in this role. You are the manager. It's a busy day. You're trying to make a smart financial decision right now, on the spot.
All right, it's mid-morning. You're making your 100th latte of the day. The price is $2.50. So your marginal revenue for this one cup is $2.50. Pretty simple.
Now let's figure out the marginal cost. We've got the coffee beans, the milk, the cup, and just a fraction of the barista's labor. When you add all that up, the cost to make this specific 100th latte is $1.10.
So as the manager, here's your quick decision. My cost for this next latte is $1.10. The revenue is $2.50. That's a $1.40 profit on this specific latte.
The verdict is clear. MR is greater than MC. We absolutely make this latte. Let's check the next one.
Okay, now fast forward a few hours. It's late in the day, we're tired. Why would the cost go up? Well, maybe your lead barista is now working overtime, so their labor cost you time and a half. Or maybe you ran out of your bulk purchase milk and had to send someone to the corner store to buy a few gallons at a much higher price. These factors can cause your marginal cost to rise.
And this is the climax of our scenario. The price on the menu is still $2.50. But now, because of those rising costs, the marginal cost to make latte number 251 is $2.55. You look at that and say, wait a minute, my revenue is $2.50, but my cost is $2.55. We will lose 5 cents on this latte. This is our signal. The margin is where the decision is made. We stop production at 250.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates the rule, doesn't it? But there are some common mistakes I see students make on exams when they try to apply this logic. So let's cover them right now so you can avoid them.
Okay, the number one mistake, the most seductive and dangerous error, is using average cost instead of marginal cost. Your average cost for all 250 lattes might look great, say $1.50, but that average is hiding the fact that the very next one costs you $2.55. You must look at the margin. Another trap is confusing maximizing revenue with maximizing profit. Selling that 251st latte would have increased your total daily revenue, but it would have decreased your total profit. Also, remember diminishing returns. And finally, keep in mind that marginal analysis is for these kinds of short-run decisions, not long-run strategic ones.
So the crucial point here, and the main takeaway from today's lecture, is not just a formula. It's a new way of thinking.
I love this quote from Henry Hazlitt because it really gets to the heart of this. Thinking at the margin is about considering the next step and its consequences. It's about looking at the immediate effect of your next action, whether that's making one more latte or studying one more hour, and understanding its impact, not just looking at the current overall picture.
So I'll leave you with a final thought. We've talked about business, but this logic can be applied everywhere. Think about studying for an exam. What's the marginal benefit of one more hour of studying? Maybe a slight bump in your grade. And what's the marginal cost? Maybe an hour of sleep you desperately need. Thinking at the margin helps you make optimal decisions in all parts of your life, well beyond the classroom. It's a powerful tool.